Hello and a very good evening to all those who are watching me live in this interaction session of News 9 on YouTube and also Facebook page. Well, one of many conspiracy theories that is doing the rounds on social media is that China could have probably created COVID-19 deliberately. But everybody knows that its release was the result of a lab accident at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Well, the lab was reportedly doing a gain of function research on the coronaviruses, which modifies a virus to make it all the more lethal and also transmissible between species. Now, what has the world learned from this particular virus outbreak? Well, one has come to know about how one simple virus can decimate global economies without bearing the impact of the outbreak. So this is certainly dangerous and also very alarming. But now you might ask, how did they do it? Well, gene editing is the answer to that question, and gene editing has now made it all the more possible for gene engineers or editors to engineer viruses whose effects range from COVID-19 to the bubonic plague. And the danger comes not only from the governments or ethical hackers, but also from rogue scientists and also biohackers, because they have access to the same tools as the lab technicians who are experimenting with these viruses. Now, this is why India must take the lead in developing biodefenses. Now, in order to answer a few technical questions, we have with us Dr. Sitesh Roy joining us live from Mumbai. Many thanks for joining me in yet another interaction session, Dr. Sitesh Roy. And my first question to you today is, how disastrous can gene editing or engineering be?
So gene editing and gene engineering is like a two-edged sword, Deepak.
Okay.
So we use gene editing and gene engineering for curing what are called congenital disorders, inborn disorders, certain cancers, and many different diseases, metabolic disorders. Gene editing can mean the difference between life and death. And it is certainly something that is being used in medical research very frequently. But like you said, if it falls into the wrong hands, into the hands of the wrong people with the wrong intentions, then potentially it can be used for making, as you rightly said, a virus that might be mildly or moderately infectious into something that is extremely infectious and can also be utilized as a tool to affect individuals, affect populations, affect entire countries possibly. And so gene editing and gene engineering can be something life-saving and beneficial, and it can also have its downsides, as we can expect, because we are taking...
Well, there seems to be a technical glitch right here. Well, what the doctor was trying to say was that if gene editing falls in the hands of the wrong people, they can decimate economies in a second. So that is how, the COVID-19 outbreak has learned, or rather taught us a lesson that we have to learn, because one simple virus has decimated economies across the world. And if gene editing is learned by the wrong and unethical beings in different countries, they could probably use it to wage bio wars against other countries in order to gain a technical advantage or even a strategical advantage than the other country as well. Now, coming back to what India has to do is that India currently has the potential not only to provide its people with the most advanced medical care, but also to cure cancer itself. So it can lead the world in research and also innovation and lay the foundation for a $1 trillion medical industry. And in order to achieve this, India should launch the largest clinical trials in the world history and use technologies such as genomics, synthetic biology, sensors, 3D printing, and also artificial intelligence in order to analyze data and also develop treatments. Like we all know, India is number one when it comes to pharmaceuticals, developing vaccines, and also in the field of medicine as well. Now, coming back to Dr. Sitesh Roy. Doctor, do you think that, synthetic biological tools, or rather synthetic biological technologies, should be banned? Dr. Sitesh, am I audible? Right, we'll get back to the doctor in a bit. So what I was mentioning here is that, India has the potential to develop a vaccine for a particular virus. Like we've all known, India has developed vaccines for dengue, for a lot of other flus like malaria as well. So with this kind of technology that is in the hands of our nation's scientists and also medical researchers, we should probably be using this particular technology to not just cure viruses but also to form a bio defense, because the future of warfare is not with artillery or jets or tanks or by armies on foot. It will be bio war, just like what we are seeing right now. We don't have technical evidence to prove whether this is a conspiracy theory of the Chinese or not. But we can surely tell, what we can surely tell is that a simple virus which emerged out of a disastrous lab experiment in Wuhan can lead to such a big disaster across the world, decimating economies, killing lakhs and lakhs of people, and still millions of people continue to get infected. What more can a country expect in terms of decimating the other country or its opponent? Now, coming back to Dr. Sitesh Roy, doctor, do you think that gene editing, if it falls in the wrong hands of in the wrong hands, do you think that it could prove to be very disastrous to the world? And also, do you think that synthetic biology technologies should be banned?
So, Deepak, I think that even the biodefense or the biowarfare departments in America, for that matter, a few years ago, that used to do a lot of research within the US and outside, took some internal decisions and decided to reduce the funding in some of those areas, because they realized that some of the research that may be done internally, if it ever went into the wrong hands, could cause problems for the whole world. So I think that anywhere where there is a program or a process for studying biological warfare, there needs to be enough oversight, there needs to be enough observation and careful regulations in place that would prevent the misuse of that technology. And that technology should only be used for surveillance, which is for protecting populations, and also for rapid response, emergency responsiveness, for early detection and then early mitigation of the problem through the right kind of rapid research that would be available in such a center. So I feel that even when we look at biodefense, there's always a protective side and then there is an aggressive side. The protective side of a biodefense program is extremely important. Even in ancient India, if you look at it, Deepak, when foreign invaders would come into a certain area and they were trying to get the people there to give up their war and give up their defenses, they would poison, for example, the lakes or the water system around. And our ancient sages used to have antidotes to that could be used in the water, so that the water could still be used and the defenses could still function. So biowarfare is not something that is new. It has been around for thousands of years. It just has become far more aggressive and dangerous these days, where we certainly need to have the right mechanisms and tools in place, with the right kind of minds who understand how this functions, with the right kind of team that can respond to it, and hence can be used in a safe manner.
Now, doctor, that was a very good point that you mentioned. Biowarfare is not a thing that is existing now, but it has been a thing of the past, which is continuing and also advancing and also getting all the more lethal with the technology advancements as well. But doctor, I would like to ask you, can India, with the help of artificial intelligence and genomic data, decipher the complex relationships between DNA and also biological processes and find treatments for diseases in case such a scenario exists in the near future?
Absolutely, Deepak. I think we have some of the smartest minds in the world in this country. I believe that many of the scientists who are even working in the top labs around the world happen to be of Indian origin. And I certainly believe that if the right kind of team, if the right kind of immunologists, biologists, artificial intelligence engineers, all together come together in a team with the right kind of a mindset and the right funding, we can certainly be better prepared. Like, for example, if you take this COVID-19 pandemic, for example, because we have mRNA technology, because we have plasmid DNA technology, which are both bioengineering processes, we are able to make a vaccine within months, whereas normally making a vaccine takes 5 to 15 years or more.
That's
And it's
true.
because we have this kind of biotechnology and synthetic biology accessible to us, we are able to respond. So I think whether it is in the future for any infectious epidemic or pandemic that might be there, or it is any type of bio warfare, I do believe that India is in the position where we can use our technology, our science, our intelligence, as well as our belief that do no harm and always believe in peace for providing solutions in the midst of such pandemics or epidemics in the future. So I do believe that it is something that needs to be explored with the right team and right minds together.
So, doctor, is COVID-19, has COVID-19 taught the entire world a lesson that probably we should have our bio defenses up and ready at all times, because you'll never know when a virus could infect the population?
Absolutely, I think a nation, especially of the size of India with 1.3 billion plus people, needs to have a certain biodefense program, like I said, largely for surveillance and then also for response, mitigation, and coming up with solutions. Because regardless of what the origin of COVID-19, and I would not like to get into any kind of conspiracy theories, we know that this virus is quite different than what we have seen before, and it has certainly brought us to our senses about how a simple virus that is invisible to the human eye or even a regular microscope can bring 7 billion people to their knees and bring the entire world to a grinding halt. So I think there's every reason to believe that if such a thing can happen in Mother Nature, we have to learn our lessons. We have to be careful with our resources. We have to be careful with what we utilize in our day-to-day life. We have to become aware of our micro environment around us and also be prepared with science, technology, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and all the other tools that we have to respond in a timely manner so we can limit the damage or destruction that is done.
Right, Dr. Sitesh, thank you for joining me in this live interaction, and also your insights mean a lot to all our viewers, because each of the insight that you give us also adds to the meaning of what the people want to understand from biological warfare. So, like the doctor mentioned, biological warfare also has the positives and also the negatives as well. Earlier, like the doctor said, in ancient India, biological warfare was used to avoid the impending attacks from the neighboring rulers. So now, like the doctor mentioned earlier, or rather in the beginning of this interaction session, gene editing, if it falls in the into the wrong hands, it could probably prove to be very disastrous, like we are seeing the current situation right now. We wouldn't want to get into conspiracy theories, but to be prepared, India should probably even look at advancing its bio defenses as well. So if you guys have liked this piece of information that we've shared with you, please drop in your comments, and also like, share and subscribe to News 9 on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. Many thanks for watching.